Frizzle folks. The Law is the newest novella in the Dresden Files series, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. There's also things about this book that I didn't love. It wasn't perfect. So we're going to be talking about all of that today. Because 5 stars for me means I'm obsessed with it. Means as soon as I finished it, I wanted to read it again. And I did. I read this book twice. But also, I kind of wish this novella hadn't existed. And let me elaborate on that. So, the next planned Dresden Files book is called 12 Months. As of right now, we don't know that many things about it, but Jim Butcher has said a few things about it. And I'll link an awesome podcast episode in the footnotes if you want to hear him talk a little bit about that and the Dresden Files as a whole. But here is what we know about 12 Months. It's going to take place over the course of 12 months, from Battleground to the beginning of the next book. Harry is going to go on some dates with Laura in the meantime, and Harry is also going to be processing his grief. So this is likely a book that is going to be fairly episodic, like a lot of short stories and novellas string together that connect thematically and plot-wise a little bit. And while reading The Law, I just kind of have the feeling like this was content originally planned to be inside 12 months. It takes place within that year period. It mentions some of the plot lines. It's Harry dealing with grief. Doesn't this sound like exactly the thing that Jim Butcher had planned? Yeah. And I really wouldn't be surprised if the story of The Law ended up in 12 months. Similar to how Christmas Eve, a previously released short story, ended up threaded into the book Battleground. And if that's the case, I kind of wish we hadn't ever gotten this novella. Just save it for the novel. Because I am seriously looking forward to 12 Months. I'm not a big fan of short stories, but the Dresden Files short story collections are, in my opinion, required reading because they're great. But just taking one of those stories, The Law, out of context like this, I think severely brings down the mood. Because what is the major weakness of this book? I'd say it's the lack of character development, the lack of larger context. The Law takes place 1 month after the events of Battleground, and Harry is still in the midst of his grief. It's implied that he was doing even worse a few weeks ago and has now gotten a little better and will continue to get better. But we don't really get to see any of that in this story. But think about how awesome The Law would be if it was bookended with a story before it of Harry doing even worse, and stories after it of Harry slowly getting better. And then the whole collection of stories would show Harry's character arc. So in the end, this novella feels more like a cash grab. Or, as I suspect, because Audible does this, Audible reached out to Jim Butcher and said, hey, can you give us a novella? Jim Butcher had been working on this series of novellas for 12 months, decided to release one. Which is kind of sad, because if we were going to get a bonus novella, it could have had a lot more fan service in it. It's not that hard to know what the fans want. We want to see Harry interacting with his daughter. We want to see Harry interacting with Laura Wraith. We want to see the plot lines that have been teased. And this novella didn't deliver on any of those. It's a pretty skippable story, which personally, I highly suspect is just going to end up being part of 12 Months anyway. But, now that we've gotten all that angry rant out of the way, let me talk about what I really loved about this novella, because there's also a lot there. And what The Law does fantastically is showcase how far Harry has come. Recently, I've reread the beginning of the Dresden Files series, and reading book 1 and then reading this novella, it is striking how much Harry has matured and changed as a character. And that's all been earned over the course of these 17 and a half books. One of the things that's been a somewhat subtle change is how intimidating Harry is. In book 1, when Harry is described as super tall and wearing a big duster trench coat, it's told with a goofy tone that he looks like a weirdo. In this book, when it tells you how tall and wearing a duster trench coat Harry is, it's intimidating. He's a big, muscular guy with scars wearing a bulletproof trench coat. Because at this point in the series, Harry has been through some things, and he carries himself differently because of that. And I think a big contributing factor to this as well is the winter mantle giving him an aura of tough guyness. And Harry has just grown more mature in general. He still has some quips, but he's much more restrained with them, especially when dealing with Marco. Harry even remarks on it in the short story that he's being really civil and respectful with Marcone, something that at the beginning of the series he would never have even considered doing. But Harry and Marcone's frenemyship has grown so strong over the course of the series until now they really do trust each other. They don't trust that they're going to agree with each other, but they do trust each other to keep their word and save the city when push comes to shove. You know, I think the only group of people who will be truly happy with this novella are the Harry Marcone shippers. And I wish them well. But personally right now, I'm most shipping Harry with Laura, and I was disappointed by the lack of content Harry-Laura. You know, but I do think Marcone would be my second choice. I would not be upset if they were endgame. And finally, Harry has changed by becoming a community organizer. Harry owns a castle now where he is housing refugees. Very on brand. But he has gone through a severe dadification over the course of this series. He's become a literal father, not that we get to see his daughters in this story, but also just become a father of the magical community, taking care of all the little guys in Chicago, and has gained quite a reputation because of it. Now people on the street know about Harry Dresden, wizard, that he's the guy you call when you need magical help. And I am super excited to see Harry going forward as this pillar in the magical community, of someone who, instead of reluctantly participating in pizza game nights, is organizing pizza game nights. I'm excited for both the social character development implications of this, and I'm looking forward to the potential making his own mantle of the Wizard of Chicago. So The Law was a fun little read. I enjoyed it. But am I happy we got it? Not really. It's fine, but I'd rather it just be enveloped into 12 months and we could get it all together, because I do think I would have enjoyed this more with more context and short stories around it. I read the ebook instead of listening to the audiobook, so I cannot talk on Jim Butcher's narration, but I have heard mostly positive things about it if you want to check out that. Subscribe for more videos on Frizzle Fridays. I'll link my other Dresden Files videos in the footnotes if you want to explore those. And thank you for watching.